everybody, and welcome back to another BBG series where we get under the skin of what's going on behind the scenes at the BBG. And today I'm here with David Singleton, who's new to the board, and I thought, David, it'd be a good chance for you to introduce yourself. Yes. and what you have done with your life before this point in time.
Right, yeah, well, I'm not sure how long we've got. Primarily, I'm a restaurant guy. So I've worked in restaurants and the services sector all my life, really, from when a kid leaving school back in England. So I became a waiter and worked my way up the ladder in the hospitality industry. And very quickly I became a senior manager for a big restaurant company back there. Ended up working in America and going to and fro from there. Again in the restaurant industry, but then it was at that point where I started teaching in England and America with the leadership programs that we used to run there, going over to Dallas and Orlando, which was a real thrill. And so that kind of took me over to another area of my profession that I currently work in now as well, in coaching and teaching.
It would be a missed opportunity for as you're an expert in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
It seemed here in the UAE that there was a restaurant opening up every 2 minutes back in 2014, 15.
Yes.
And now that we're in a financial crisis, most of them are permanently closed, or some of them are permanently closed, some of them just temporarily.
Yeah.
How do you see the restaurant space right here, right now?
Well, it's interesting when you go back to that time of 14, 15, you know, I had this great role where I was being dispatched off to various countries around the world to go and bring brands in. And, you know, to Milan, to New York, to Las Vegas, you know, go and see these brands because we think the market would like them. And I would come back and say, this is great, but, you know, the market is saturated now to a point, when that was then, to a point where I can't recommend this to you, which, you know, people would say, well, actually, that's a bit unusual. How many coffee brands can you have? How many high-end fine dining restaurants can you have and survive? And on the other side of the coin, I would go to my boss and say, I found this really exciting brand, which I think the market would really love. And David, now isn't the time. There'll be other opportunity. Time will come. You know, there's always opportunity for fabulous brands here.
Yes.
And he was right. He was, you know, the voice of absolute caution and very measured and calm, but also very excited about opportunity for the region. So that measured calm from both sides of us kind of stifled it. But actually, in retrospect, I see the brands that I was sent out to go and get. And we said no, open here and not survive. And I think in order to survive here, and for that matter in any city around the world, in the restaurant and the services sector, you have to really be truly exceptional and stand out in what you do. You have to have a unique proposition. The people leading the business have to lead from their heart, and they have to be truly stand out. And the piece of work we've been doing over the summer for the BBG is the customer experience journey, focuses exactly on that, you know, and I've been privileged over the years to actually have created restaurant brands from nothing. And it's at that point where you give birth to DNA, and you create this DNA, and it's actually a very powerful thing to be able to do that. And then if you build a restaurant particularly, and you grow it through the people, and you grow it organically, and that way you can survive through reputation, having great people, strong leadership, and great values. And so to come back and answer your question, there are restaurants that will never reopen, and that's through no fault of their own. And whoever thought that, you know, we would be opening restaurants and then have forced closure for 3 months. And you know, entrepreneurs have, you know, living month to month, you know, because they've had to. You know, the kind of leadership that's required in business today is a very different leadership that was required 6 months ago.
Absolutely. You're in survival mode now.
You really are, and no one was really ready for that. Entrepreneurs who created business did so because they kind of either created something for the future, or they stumbled across something just through their own intuition.
So David, since you came to the UAE and you were aware of the BBG then, and now you're fully engulfed in the BBG, how do you see the difference in terms of your perception of what it was and what it is now and what it's doing for its members?
I've always been aware of the BBG since I've come to the UAE, and I've attended some events which are great, but I was never really compelled to actually join and be a part of it. But as I've used the UAE as my base to work around the world, I've been able to get a lot of experience from and get some other perspective from other countries, which has been, I think, has been really, really valuable. And particularly in the last year or so, where I've seen the stature of the BBG grow, where I've seen it much more engaged with governments and industry and trade bodies, which I think is really, really important for British business. And I think British business can get a lot from that. And as a Brit now working here and working, using this as my base around the world, I think I can add some perspective to that. And since I've met the wider board, I've been really inspired by the talents that they bring to the table. The active business team, who really do a tremendous job to help us help the British community and build the business group network, which is really, really exciting. And I hope I can add some value, some perspective to the team, and that's really what I want to do.
Do you think we as Brits are good at looking after each other and working together? I've had a few events with the Irish bunch, and the Irish, they're much smaller in numbers, but they stick together. They really look after each other. It's very, very obvious that they're loyal to each other and trying to help each other out. I think the Brits, because we are a lot more, it's not so it's not such a privilege to see another Brit, because there's many of us around. Do you think that we have that community, or do you think it's something that we need to build?
I'd like to see more of that, and I know there's something we've talked about over the summer, over the spring, I guess, about building our ecosystem, the British ecosystem here with the British Business Group, and I think we can do more by being very. We don't have to have big events, but we can be much smarter about how we network people together, perhaps bringing people together, and that's for us as the board to encourage that, and also find new ways to bring people together as well, don't we?
I think we have a natural thing, as much as we love each other's company, we have a bit of competition among each other.
I think it's true, and I think, but also you talk about competition. One thing I've learned over the last 3 or 4 months, as we've all been kind of locked down, is the power of collaboration is really powerful, and I've learned now that actually we can get an audience with anyone really, because people now have time on their hands, and they've realised that actually to reach out to someone and have a conversation to do business, it might even just be another friend in our Rolodex, but the opportunity that I've found over the last few months by writing to someone and saying, you know, have you got half an hour for a Zoom call? No one has said no.
Yeah.
And I've met
it's a time where people are looking to help. People have the time, and I think people are also trying to utilize this time where it's maybe more difficult to make money.
Very much.
To form relationships, which hopefully will be remembered in the good times.
I think that's true, and I think our competitive ness has dropped, I think, a lot now, and I think we're here where we are at the Capital Club now, where with me coming in on BBG Business, I've met so many people who want to talk to and it's not all about hustling and doing business for now. It's I remember that person. I think that's what we can do with the BBG. Certainly people need help right now, and sometimes it might be just a conversation. There's a lot of people who are stressed, who are anxious and worried about their business. Many people are in survival mode, and sometimes it's just talking and just a bit of an offload sometimes, or there's business to be done out there. And we should be looking out for both of those. So that's what I want to do, is I want to bring this British community together and look for new ways of doing business. Networking is a rookie skill we've all got, and one of my old coaches told me, never forget your rookie skill. And if you've got a rookie skill that's called networking, use it, because you might be helping someone else, or you're certainly helping yourself.
Well, you've certainly got a very interesting set of experiences over your career, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you add to the new trajectory of the British Business Group. Anybody who would like to join, or even if you would just like to be involved in some way, you can follow the updates, the news updates, and any information on our social media handles, the British Business Group, Dubai and Northern Emirates. And David, thank you for
thank you so much
having us with us.
No, it's a pleasure.